It's Tuesday and it's time for Falcon Focus. Welcome to this week's edition of Falcon Focus, pre-Thanksgiving edition. It is episode number 10 here in season number 3. My name is Matt Menzel, and on this week's edition, it's a flashback to January 19th. We've done this show before. In segment number 2, we'll talk men's basketball, that with their senior guard in Jordan Johnson. But at first, we'll talk a little bit about women's basketball in a brand new role, that being the former women's basketball athlete and now current athletic communications graduate assistant, that being Clara Chambers. And Clara, thanks for joining us here on this edition of Falcon Focus. You've had the option, and you had the option to come back for a 6th season of Falcons basketball, but you elected not to. What went into that decision during the offseason? How difficult of a decision process was that for you?
Yeah, that was super tough because like you said, I did have the option to come back if I wanted because of COVID year. But last season, I kind of went into the season thinking it was going to be my last one. And with everything, how it turned out at the end, I was like, it's okay. It's time to put the shoes away and move on to a different role and try to build my resume for the future. So.
Got to mention, too, we are socially distanced, and you feel like you're in a completely different part of the arena here inside the John Book Fieldhouse. But you started Falcon women's basketball with the program back in 2016, 2017, and started the first 9 games before suffering a season-ending injury. What happened, and how were you able to overcome that injury?
Yeah, so my freshman year, I was lucky enough to come in and start. During a game, I collided with another player on the opposite team and ended up tearing my ACL. So that was like the first injury I've ever had. So it was really weird for me because I had never been hurt before, and then to have your season ended, I was like, well, what do I do now? Especially being a freshman, because freshmen are lost.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was super tough for me, and it was pretty much day by day. Honestly, I didn't know if I wanted to stay at Concordia. It was during Wintram, so no one was here, just the team. But obviously, I made it through.
What got you over that hump? Just the emotional roller coaster ride that was.
Yeah, I mean, just my family and teammates, especially your freshman year, you kind of feel alone for a little bit there. So their support and obviously Coach Brunner being in my ear all the time saying, this happens, you can get through this. It all was a combination of things.
As mentioned, able to overcome the injury, and all of a sudden you produced 3 all-conference seasons, your final 3 campaigns receiving all-conference accolades. What's that mean to you that, you look back and, your peers, the other teams, all looking at you as one of the best of this conference, and also to know that you were able to overcome that injury and produce those type of seasons?
Yeah, it was a huge goal for me to do that. I obviously come into every season having personal goals and team goals. So it was really nice to get those personal goals, and just having the respect from other coaches or players in the conference, that means a ton too.
You were a 1,000-point scorer in your high school days, a 1,000-point scorer as well here at Concordia. What do you recall about that moment when you hit 1,000 points as a Falcon? How special a moment was that for you?
It was so special. I remember when I got it, I was like, finally, it's over.
Were you counting down in the back of your head with every basket?
We were playing Alverno, and I was like, I need to get this now because the next day is senior day, and I wanted it to be about the seniors, not me. And so when I got it, I was like, okay, we're good. It was a great time, but it was more of a relief, especially with COVID season. I didn't know if we were even going to get the next game. So that was also in the back of my head. I was like, if I am 2 points away, I am going to be so mad.
And you have to come back for another year, right? Just get those 2 points. What are some of the other maybe moments, game performances, when you think back your time as a Falcon that stand out?
Honestly, one that stands out the most for me is senior day. So my dad has come to every single game as a Falcon. No matter where we were at, he was there. but senior day.
No kidding.
So he helps coach for Mineral Point High School team, and they made it to state. And so he like called me and he said, I'll come to your game. And I was like, go help Mineral Point win a state championship. It's okay. And then I ended up having like 5 threes in the first half. And it was like, he called me after the game. He's like, you made it really easy for me not to be there, like listening to the game. So I think that game stands out the most just because it was senior day. It was a great day to celebrate with my fellow seniors, my family, but knowing that my one person that has come to every single game wasn't there was like, okay, I gotta do good to make sure.
When you look at opponents, and I know Concordia has a number of rivals, but how about for you? Was there one opponent or two opponents that anytime you saw them on the schedule coming up, you just got a little more fired up than a typical game?
Yeah, there's 2 that I can think of right off the bat. One is UW Platteville. They're not a conference team, but we usually play them every year. It's right by my hometown, so many people would come and support me. So I always wanted to make sure I did good that game. And I was also recruited by them, so it's like you always want to play good against a team that you didn't choose to go to. And then the other one is Edgewood, because my freshman year, their program wasn't as good as ours, and they grew so much within the time that I've been here that they became like our main competition, and so it's always really fun to play them.
What aspects, when you think back, what aspects of being on the Falcon roster, the active roster, what aspects do you miss?
I miss obviously the team part of it.
Not the practices though, right?
No. No. I definitely miss the team part of it just because my roommates are still on the team, so I still hear what's going on, what's happening. And it does kind of suck not being there because we used to share in that we could all talk together about basketball. And obviously I miss the games. They were the best parts, just going out and playing basketball. But
you played volleyball and softball as well in high school. Did you ever consider trying to play either one of those sports at this level?
So coming in my freshman year, I actually was going to try to play softball. I knew a girl on the team. We played on the all-star team together, and we're like, what? We're going to Concordia, Wisconsin? Like, it was super weird. And then I ended up tearing my ACL, and I was just like, no. At this point, I'm just going to focus on trying to get healthy and trying to get back to basketball, which I enjoyed playing more than softball. So
obviously you play sports or did play sports. Yeah, you work in sports. So you have a passion for sports. What do you attribute that love of sports to?
Oh, definitely my family. I mean, every time I go home, there's a sports game playing. Like, we watch nothing else. Thanksgiving, Christmas, even with my extended family, we're watching football or basketball. Like, we're not watching anything else. And all of my cousins, my sister, like, we all are athletes. We all grew up watching each other. So I've always been around sports, and it's always been a part of my life.
Is basketball then, just based on the fact you played at this high level, is that your favorite sport, or does it vary based on the season?
No, basketball is my favorite sport. I would say I'm the best at basketball. Softball is a close second, though.
Okay.
Mostly because of just it was more, and basketball is a team sport, don't get me wrong. But, like, softball, everyone's on the field and everyone has to make a play at any certain time. So I enjoyed that of softball. It was, like, less pressure for me in high school.
Did you always dream at some point in your lifetime that you would always be around athletics, you would work in athletics?
Yeah, I honestly didn't start seriously thinking about it until, like, my senior year of high school, and I was like, oh, Clara, like, you should try to figure out what you're passionate about. And then it came super easy for me. So
then all of a sudden the athletic communications graduate assistant position opened up. Why did you obviously see the opening? What pushed you to pursue it?
So I knew I had 1 year left in my master's, and I was upstairs all the time during my 4 years here with Emily Morrow, Coach Brunner, who's in the door right there. and Jeremy. And I've talked to Jeremy a ton about it, and he asked me one day, like, hey, what are you doing next year? And I was just like, I'm still up in the air. I don't know. I'll be in the area. And he's like, well, like, I have a grad assistant job opening if you want to try to interview for it. And I thought, what a perfect way to stay around Concordia for my last year here. So
Something's kind of messed up with your story because most people hang around Jeremy Crawford for longer than a couple of days. They go the opposite direction. They don't get into the office and decide, hey, I want to work for him one day or work with him one day. But different.
I was the one exception.
Yeah, I was going to say that you'll have to re-examine that later on down the road. But so far, when you look at this job, what's your favorite part of the job? Maybe what are the challenges of the job?
Yeah. I would say my favorite part is being on the other side of athletics and still getting to see athletes compete and knowing that I have put something into their game day. Maybe they don't realize because to be honest, I did not realize when I was an athlete here what goes into making our game days happen. I thought, put down the hoops, get a ref, we're good. There's a lot more than that.
Well, I was going to say, maybe we should back up a little bit and explain what the job entails as a grad assistant.
So we are at every sporting event here on campus, and we have 32 teams. We set up the broadcast so that family members can see live stream. We did look on the broadcast for radio so they can hear in their cars. We do social media for all of the events. We take pictures. We do highlights. Pretty much most of what's going on deals with our office or game management.
Does it ever get overwhelming trying to juggle all the different sports? I'm guessing there are sporting events you've attended that you never thought you'd ever, step foot at, growing up or even being here at Concordia, just because it's not necessarily fan-friendly. Cross country, there really isn't bleachers to sit in. You kind of walk the course, but you've been to so many different sporting events already. Has that kind of been overwhelming at times to try to juggle it all and keep up with who's doing what and who's playing where?
Every day I'm asking Jeremy and Josh, okay, what games do we have today? What games do we have this week? But I would say it's not as overwhelming as it's more exciting. Like, I've never gone to cross country meets before, and I was able to go to some this year. And I really enjoyed it because I can't run. I can't. And
you played basketball back up and down the floor.
It's not the same. It's not. And to seeing these males and females running how many miles, and I was like, how are they doing this? Field hockey, I had only gone to one game before, mostly because they haven't had many home games, and this year they had a ton. So I was at all of them. And soccer's. My high school team didn't have a soccer team. So, I didn't really understand soccer at all. And now I think I got the game down. So.
Well, I was going to say, once you figure out the strategy, it's not a bad sport to watch. Otherwise, if you don't understand what they're trying to do, you're sitting there going, come on, they're just kicking the ball back. No, there's more to it.
Mm-hmm.
Put your athletic communications hat on for a minute. Looking back at the fall, looking ahead of the winter, your thoughts on just how the fall season went as far as the different teams. What are you the most looking forward to now here in the winter?
Yeah, fall was super exciting for me just because I was learning everything, the basics. And now that I have those down, and we had a really good teams compete in the fall. So it was also good to see them be competitive. Winter season, I'm excited to know all the sports that I'll be working at. I'm excited to see my friends, my roommates compete on the court, on the ice. So I'm really excited for winter just because of the sports in general.
To wrap it all up, with Thanksgiving a couple of days away, what do you most, you think about the holiday, what it all entails, starting to get back somewhat to normal. What are you most thankful for this Thanksgiving?
I'm most thankful for just being able to be here, getting the opportunity. I'm thankful that I have my family that will always support me and know that if I'm not home for months on end, it's because I'm busy and not that I don't want to see them. But I'm also thankful for all my coworkers. Josh sometimes doesn't make it easier, but Jeremy does.
Well, Josh still believes the Washington Redskins or Washington football team plays in the state of Washington. So, that's, for another time. But, Claire, I appreciate your time. Thank you for being on the show again. And as we did back in January 19th, she's up first. Up next, when we come back, we talk men's basketball with Jordan Johnson. Stay tuned. You're tuned in to this week's edition of Falcon Focus.
Since 1978, Lutheran Church Extension Fund has had the humble privilege of supporting the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod in fulfilling its mission of sharing the gospel.
Thanks to our faithful investors, we provided thousands of church workers, congregations, schools, and organizations with the resources they need to reach more people with the saving name of Christ. It's what we do.
Because our greatest joy comes from seeing LCMS Ministries and her workers thrive, we will continue to make precious resources available, both today and far into the future. It's our promise to you.
We are Lutheran Church Extension Fund.
We are Lutheran Church Extension Fund.
We are Lutheran Church Extension Fund. We want to be part of your great and exciting work.
Welcome back to this week's edition of Falcon Focus. We now turn our attention to men's basketball and being joined by senior guard Jordan Johnson. And full disclosure, as we sit here, we are taping this edition the week before this week of Thanksgiving. And so as of right now, as we tape it, the men's basketball team has played 3 games. By the time this episode is posted, they will have played 2 more games, and now we're preparing to play Loris on the 27th of November. So hopefully you've gotten your piece of paper and pencil out and you're able to follow through all those different steps. But Jordan, let's recap at least the first 3 games, because we can do that without predicting what happens in games 4 and 5. And first game was played here against the Oshkosh Titans, the 17th ranked team at the time, and tough loss for Concordia. But your thoughts on just that opportunity to play a team of that caliber? You end up coming out and scoring 27 in that opener.
Yeah, for sure. Oshkosh is definitely one of the best teams in the country, so just for us to get on the court against that type of competition to open up is definitely something we needed. Definitely not the results we wanted, but going into conference play, that's definitely a game we need under our belt.
Moving from game 1 to game 2, you were one of 3 Falcons to score in double figures, finishing with 22. It was a 5-point victory against Carroll University. What was the difference as far as the team goes from game 1 to game 2, in your opinion?
I think confidence for sure. We had a lot of guys playing that didn't play as much last year, so just having that experience playing a great team, game 1 and going into game 2, definitely the confidence was huge for us.
And obviously game 3, not the result you wanted, a loss against Co. You had 24 points, again among 3 Falcons to score in double figures. But again, just ask for your thoughts on what happened in that particular contest.
Co is also a great team. They're right outside the top 25 rankings, so another really tough opponent. Coach Cassie does a great job scheduling these tough contests for us. So, yeah, definitely not the result we wanted, but we competed the whole game, and they just made tough shots down the stretch.
And, of course, as any athlete in any sport will tell you, these non-conference games are great, but the whole point is to prepare for it, NAC play, and trying to play for that conference championship. And as you mentioned, this men's basketball team over the years has not shied away from good non-conference competition. But, okay, as we sit here through 3 games that have been played, what do you feel – obviously there's some injuries that have factored in too, but what do you feel are the strengths of this team at this time?
I think our main strengths is that we play together and we play hard. I don't think we take a possession off, and I think we're all there for each other.
You know, you talk about playing together. How close is this team? You look at this roster, and you guys have been together for 3-4+ years together. It seems like it's the same roster, just a different year. That's got to be fun.
Yeah, for sure. We battled hard and tough games with each other, so we've been through it all. So, yeah, just another year basically, kind of our last go at it.
Couple of new faces, couple of transfers, couple of younger players that did not see maybe a lot of playing time a year ago. How some of the newcomers fit in?
The newcomers fit in really well. Sam, a transfer from Platteville, he's a phenomenal player, and he fits our system well. And yeah, it's a lot of younger guys, and they're fitting in very well. So
You're a senior back with the program for a fifth year. Has your role changed at all, and what do you see your role on this team being?
I think the biggest thing is leadership. Going into my fifth year, I knew I needed to step up my leadership coming into this year, so I think that's been the biggest role change for me.
You know, I hear a lot of athletes say from a leadership standpoint, you got to find your voice. And for you, from day one, have you had that voice? Did it take a little bit of time to you maybe develop, that demeanor of, hey, I need the ball in this situation, or hey, we got to do this, and just voice your opinion?
Definitely took me a little while. I came in as a freshman, and I definitely had some good upperclassmen leaders, so I really had to find my way to start, and I think I've really developed leadership skills in the last year or two. So
one thing I've always enjoyed when talking with you is talking about your work ethic, and I think it's fair to say, and mean this respectfully, you're a gym rat, and you put the work and the time in. Has that changed at all? Has your work rate changed at all from one year to the next? Has it increased, decreased, stayed the same?
I think overall my work ethic stayed the same. Definitely something I take pride in. So yeah.
So what is typical for you? Like, okay, so it's as we sit here, it's Tuesday. So what is a typical day for you in the gym, especially on a non-game day?
Non-game day, I definitely come in the gym. I try to make about 300, 500 shots on on a non-game day. Off season's definitely ramped up a little bit harder, but since we're in season, game day before a game right now, so it'll be a little bit lighter today, but still pretty intense.
How unique, as we flash back, and we'll talk more about your work rate, and we'll talk about the current season as well, but let's go back to last year, and you were on this show back in January, and at that point, the unique season that was last year just got started or was about to get going, but how unique was last season in the sense that, from one week to the next, you didn't know if a game was going to be played, let alone in conference play, you played the same team back-to-back days.
Yeah, it was definitely unique. Definitely a frustrating year.
Oh, I bet.
Not knowing whether we were going to play that day. I mean, we had games where we came in and the coach sat us down and told us we weren't playing that day. So definitely mentally draining last year.
Well, and I heard that from a lot of different, athletes. When the season ended, you're happy, yes, you got a season in, but you're happy for the season to be over too, just to mentally decompress. Did it feel different, though, once you were out there on the court? Did it feel like, hey, we're playing basketball again, or did it feel different throughout the entire year?
I feel like the first few games definitely felt weird. Definitely didn't feel like none of us were ready. I don't think any of us were ready to play game one. I mean, we were going no contact all practices. 3 months of practices of no contact to full out game mode. Kind of a tough transition, but as the games wore on, we adapted. So
definitely quite the experience last winter. And as we sit here, you've now played in 97 career games. You've scored 1,654 career points. And I know you're a team first, me second kind of guy, but what does it mean to you knowing that no matter when your time with the Falcons comes to a close, you will leave this program as the program's all-time leading scorer?
Yeah, it definitely means a lot. I grew up watching Concordia basketball, so Eric Kittle, that was the all-time leading scorer before me. I looked up to him, so being able to pass up his record was something special for me. So just being able to build upon that.
I remember you saying that back in January. Grew up watching Concordia basketball. What's your earliest memory, or when you think back, when you think Falcon basketball, what comes to mind?
I have a lot of memories about Concordia basketball, but I always watch Eric Kittle specifically. I try to steal things from his game, and I just really look up to him throughout high school, but I still watched the team when I was like in middle school before Eric's time, so yeah.
For your career, you have an average of 17.1 points a game. Over the years, have you seen teams approach you any differently defensively? What do you anticipate, when you go out there, especially when it's a conference team that knows your game?
Yeah, I've definitely seen a lot of different defenses. I've seen denial. I've seen double teams at times, but as as long as I stick to what I know, like, you can't really get phased by the defense. So.
Well, if you had to get creative at all or reinvent your game at all based on what you see from defenses, or have you been able just to kind of adapt?
Definitely adapt, but also just be mentally tough throughout the years. I mean, as a freshman, sophomore, I didn't really have to face quite such hard defense. And my junior and senior year is definitely ramped up, so just being mentally and physically strong.
So then during the offseason and preparation after that unique COVID year now here in 2021-22, what aspects of your game, was there any particular aspects of your game that you focused on, you wanted to improve, that you're looking to improve?
Honestly, the biggest thing was my headspace. Physically, I felt great. My shot felt great, but I think last year, especially with COVID, kind of made me a little negative last year. And this year, my biggest goal is to stay positive through ups and downs.
Now, with that being said, is there added pressure? Do you put added pressure on yourself knowing that this may be your final go-around? This is your fifth year, your senior year. This is it, kind of all on the line.
Yeah, definitely my last go-around. Yeah, I do put pressure on myself, but at the end of the day, like, I know my team has my back, I have their back, and we have a lot to accomplish this year, so I'm excited.
And I'm guessing, and I remember you sitting here, and I was reminded of it, that you sat here and said you were coming back for a fifth year. Mm-hmm. I'm guessing there was no doubt about it when that option became available. You said, hey, I'm coming back for that extra year, that free year, so to speak.
Yeah, I knew I had to go to graduate school, so it was definitely the back of my mind, and as soon as the opportunity came, I had to take it.
One guy I want to bring up, too, before we talk more about, big picture and some of your memories as a Falcon, Jared Jers. He's a guy that you've played with for many years now, and like you, his name will be all over the record book by the time he steps off this Mequon campus, especially in that assist category. What's it like to play with a player like that certainly can score, but he also puts you in a great position to finish and succeed?
Yeah, I mean, I think when it's all said and done, he'll have the assist record, no doubt, and definitely assisted me on a lot of my points, so I have to thank him for that. And really, I mean, he's a good leader on the court, and he's definitely just a guy you just love being around, and he really helps this team win. So.
And no question, you two have been a part of some big moments for Falcon basketball the last few years. To date, what are some of your favorite memories as a Falcon?
My top two are winning CIT my sophomore year and my junior year going to the tournament.
So are you excited that CIT is back in January? You looking forward to that?
I am excited. Not so excited to Nebraska. But
then, yeah, there's that.
But I definitely am excited.
As far as memories go, and we've talked about, in the past, the big, 40-plus point performance against Wisconsin Lutheran. I'm sure you hear about that all the time still in the tournament, the NEC tournament record, single game tying scoring performance. But when you look back at just your basketball life, maybe outside of Concordia, do you have a moment that stands out above the rest right now that you say, when I think back of playing basketball, that was the ultimate, that's a moment that will live with me forever?
I have two. Going to state my senior year, that was huge at Cedarburg. Playing with my lifetime best friends and being able to hold up the sectional championship trophy, that was definitely like our goal growing up through like second, third grade, so that was something special. And then coming to Concordia, my goal was always to go to the tournament and make a little run, so I was able to make the tournament my junior year, and now this year I hope to expand on that. So,
did you, and I don't know if I've ever asked you this before, did you ever play other sports besides basketball, or has it always been basketball?
I used to be a swimmer, actually.
Really?
Yep, I was a competitive swimmer until I reached high school, and then I focused solely on basketball. So. Okay.
What's the best advice you've ever been given throughout your career?
Oh,
or words you live by?
That's a good question. The best advice I ever received was from a sports psychologist, and it was, if you can control your headspace, you can control all adversity that comes your way.
Wow. So. That's deep.
Yeah.
I like that, though. That's good.
Yeah.
Again, as we sit here and tape this on November 16th, it's 2 days before Thanksgiving. Next home game for the Falcons is coming up on December 1st. and you have the NAC preseason favorite, Wisconsin Lutheran, and again, by then, the Falcons will have played upwards of 6 games prior to the conference opener. When you look at the conference this season, I know you got a pretty good pulse on who's doing what and how things could play out. Who do you see as being maybe, without, slighting anybody, and not bulletin board material, but who do you see as being some of the obstacles for the Falcons in your guys' path to trying to win a conference championship?
I mean, obviously we open up with Wisconsin Lutheran. Unfortunately, we only play them once, but they haven't really lost anyone in the last year, and they won last year, so that'll definitely be a big game for us. So, and then obviously Benedictine's always good. I think they're in the regional rankings currently, so I think those 2 teams will definitely be tough.
I know you're the ultimate competitor and you get it for every game, but is there certain, conference foes, and I asked Clara this same question in our first segment, but are there certain conference opponents you see across the way and it just, gets the juices flowing even more so?
I would say definitely the 2 teams I just said, WLC and Benedictine. I always want to play the best and prove that we're better than them. So definitely yeah.
And now going forward with, December, January, February coming up before the Madness in March, what goals do you have for the team, but also for yourself in your final go-around?
So my goal for the team, definitely win conference goal every year and then make the tournament, but not just making the tournament. I did that once, and now I want to go beyond that and make a run in the national tournament. So that's my ultimate goal. And then for myself, honestly, just be the best player I can be. So I eventually, hopefully, want to play overseas next year. So putting myself in a good position to do that.
And to wrap it all up with Thanksgiving, as we, again, will put this and post it. Thanksgiving is 2 days away. What are you most thankful for this Thanksgiving?
Definitely most thankful for God and my family.
Great answer. And with that said, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And best of luck throughout your 5th-year senior season. And, again, all the best to Jordan along with the Falcon men's basketball team here this winter. A very special, happy Thanksgiving, one and all. Thanks for joining us this week. We'll be back next Tuesday for another edition here of Falcon Focus on CUWFalcons.com.